Welcome to Practicing Photography. This week we're going to be talking about fireworks, and they are easier than you may think. So if you've never done them before, make sure you stick with me. I will show you how to do it. I'll have a cheat sheet for you at the end, so stay with me. So just give it a couple more minutes here. Let's see who joins. Like I said, if you're joining just now, drop in the comments where you're watching from so they know that you're here. It would be awesome to have a few viewers. If not, if you're watching this on the recording, as I said, stay to the end. You'll see a cheat sheet on how to do fireworks. I have a series of videos I did last year. That's when I first started my YouTube channel. So they're not the best quality of videos, but the content is rock solid. I kind of liked how I delivered them last time. So check that out if you would. But so we are going to talk about making fireworks easy. They are very easy, and you can practice yourself long before fireworks happens. I see Lionel Studios joins. He probably doesn't celebrate 4th of July, being from the other side of the country. Thanks for joining. The fireworks we're celebrating here is for Independence Day in the United States, so we always have huge fireworks. It's just light photography, light painting. If you want to practice this at home, you can use just a small pin light flashlight, turn the lights off in the room, and get the same effect. Just give you a heads up. The reason this is so easy, you can have an exposure from anywhere from about a half a second to several minutes and still get great fireworks photos. Just depends on what you're trying to do. So today, we're going to talk about 4 methods I use to do firework photography. And one of them I actually learned by accident. I actually thought I invented a different way to do it. And after I figured out how to do it, I did some searches on the internet and found others who were already doing it. It's called intentional camera movement. But I'll show you some photos I've done of each different type of, each type on how I do it. So the first one, I'll just tell you right off top is how to do, let me get my, there it is. A tripod shot, just typical tripod shot where you put your camera on a tripod. It is steady. It's not moving. You're not doing anything to it. You're just taking a photo. That's the standard typical photo shot. The next one is intentional camera movement. This is the one I thought I really had learned a lot and thought I really nailed this one. And I did pretty good. But if I'd done some research on Bing or Google, I would have found others had done it already. So once I learned that, I took intentional camera movement to the next level. This is intentional camera movement, but it's on a tripod and it's moving the camera left and right. The previous one, the intentional camera movement, was literally drawing circles, question marks, hearts, be really creative. So like I said, after that, I went to intentional camera movement on a tripod. Most of mine are left and right. It's hard to do the panning up and down, but you don't have to be limited to a horizontal back and forth. So try whichever one you want to try. The next one is erratic movements. This one is totally erratic. So I'm a little bit out of order on what I set up here. This one should really be the tripod going back and forth, and this one is, actually I got them both together. So those are the same thing. That's what got me confused. These are both the same thing. The back and forth on a tripod and intentional camera movement. The erratic is where you start just drawing circles, squares, whatever shape you want to draw. Pretty cool. So So let's smooth this out a little bit. I've got 5 that I've got on my banners that are showing up. There's only 4. One is a standard tripod. 2 is intentional camera movement on a tripod where it's moving back and forth. The third one is erratic, where you're not on a tripod and you're free forming. And the fourth and final one, probably the hardest one to do, is you zoom the lens while the firework is exploding. That one's a little bit harder. I got a couple of shots. I got some really cool ones, but if you want to talk about failure rate, this is the one I probably get the least successful pictures out of. And so I do have a series on YouTube. I will put a link to that at the description of this video so you can go check them out. It's what's streaming across the bottom of the screen right now. So let me show you a couple photos that I have taken. And before I do that, let me see if I've got some comments in there. All right, awesome. It's Linnell Studio saying hi to me, so appreciate it. So let me share my screen, and I thought I already had it shared, but I had not yet. So let's take just a second to do that. And you can see in this, I am already doing some light painting here. I did this with a pen light, so you can practice that at home, but it's not fireworks. So what I've got here is some fireworks photos that I have taken. If I just double click on these are the fireworks that I have taken. This one is a standard sitting on a tripod, and if I mouse over here, it'll tell me what shutter speed and whatnot that I had. So this was only a 1 second exposure. We're on f14 and ISO of 100. Let's go to the next one. Next one, again, standard tripod shot. This one was 5 seconds, so I got a few more explosions in the photo. F-stop was f14, and the exposure was manual. So most likely I was holding it with the button, maybe not, but so ISO 100 is my last setting. This one here is, I believe I was zooming on this one a little bit. This was a 1 second exposure with f-stop of 5.6 and ISO 100. Hopefully you're seeing the trend here. You don't need a long exposure for some of these. This one is erratic camera movement, and I am holding it steady but going left and right, left and right. If it was on a tripod, I would not have the vertical squiggly lines in it. So this one's definitely an erratic camera movement. 3.1 seconds, so I'm not using any type of dongle. I'm holding the shutter button down. F5.8 and ISO of 200 this time. Again, this one is most likely, I'm guessing on this one, because I didn't write down what I did on each one. This one I'm guessing is intentional camera movement on a tripod. This one, I'm probably just moving it left and right for just over 4 seconds, 4.2, and F8 and ISO of 200 again. Only got a few more. This one is definitely on the tripod with intentional camera movement. And I am panning probably to the right to get that tail to go to the left. And I discovered something really cool to do, and I'll show you that on a future picture here in a few seconds. But again, 1.4 seconds, F8, ISO of 200. Again, intentional camera movement. You can tell by the straight lines, 1.5 seconds, F8, ISO 200. This one is a zoom. This one is okay. It's not one of my favorites, but it's kind of cool. 2.6 seconds, F10, ISO 200. You notice all my ISOs have been 100 or 200. This one is also a zoom. This one it kind of looked creepy and Halloween-y to me, so I kind of liked it. It was kind of ugly, but it was so ugly I liked it. 0.8 seconds, 5.6 aperture, and 100 for the ISO. Another zoom, 1.6 seconds. So you'll find the zooms, you probably don't want to go more than a second or two. F10, ISO 200. You notice all my f-stops have been pretty high. Here's another erratic camera movement, probably drawing ovals. 1 second, 5.6, and ISO of 100. Now this is the one I was real interesting. So you can start getting creative with these. Now, obviously this one is an intentional camera movement, moving left and right. But what I discovered is when a firework takes off, you can hear the launch of it. soon as you hear the launch, you hold it, but you don't move the camera. And that's what this, if you can see the mouse here, that's what this line is right here. This line right here is the firework coming up, but I'm not moving my camera. When it exploded, then I slid my camera to the left or right. I think it's to the right to get this one. But anyway, whichever way I move it, then the firework moves. But this has burnt out by the time it gets there. So this leaves a trail, but there's no more light once this explodes. So it just looks like a tail going up, and then your movement is you move it as soon as it explodes. So that's how I got creative with my intentional camera movement a little bit. So pretty awesome. That may be the last one. I think it is. We're back around to the beginning. So these are a handful of pictures that I posted there. And I do have a website. I may put them out somewhere. So if you want to look at them again, yeah, I'll put it in the description and I'll put a link. It's not there yet, but I'll create a link to my website so you can see those. But also on my website is I got this cheat sheet for fireworks. Let's go full size here. See if I can zoom this a little bit. Oh yeah, we can zoom this. Let's come up here to the top. And let's just center that just a little bit. And these are things that you want to do for any fireworks that you're doing. And like I said, this is a cheat sheet that I promised you at the beginning. And I'll have a link to this in the description as well. So the top section has very little to do with photography. So you can look at some of them. We have lawn chairs. You need to bring your lawn chair with you. Blanket, something, whatever you can be comfortable with. Bring bug spray. Bug spray is going to be important, especially if you're in the Midwest. A lot of insects at this time of year. Tiny flashlight or your camera will work fine. You're going to need to find camera pieces or something, or you want to see a setting on your camera. A tripod, maybe. It depends on which type of photography for fireworks you're doing. A remote trigger. This remote trigger, if you're going to do the standard setting where it's just going to take a static shot, then you'll want a remote trigger or put your camera on a 2-second delay. The hardest part about the delay is you don't have control when the shutter opens. You got to guess when the firework goes open. So a remote shutter release, either on a dongle or wireless, is what you'll want to use. Bring an extra camera battery for you. You never know when a battery is going to be dead. You thought it was charged. Extra memory cards. A photo shoot should fit on just about any memory card you buy today, but bring an extra one in case something goes wrong with the memory card. And bring lint-free cloths. This one's real important, especially when we get in the summer months here in the Northern Hemisphere. At night, the humidity is going to build up. And what's going to happen is your lens is going to fog up. You need something to wipe that off with. All right, so a few camera things here on which you should bring with the lawn chair, the bug spray, and the flashlight, not typically camera gear. So basic setup, you'll notice these settings here. I've got the basic setup here. That's the standard on the tripod, no movement, erratic camera movement, intentional camera movement, and finally zooming. So what you want to look at, you'll notice that most of them are pretty much the same settings. So you want an ISO of 100 to 200, f-stop, f8 to f11. If you're wanting to get a shutter speed that has, or a photo that has, or how would you describe it? When you get the rays coming off of the light, it's not lens flare. There's a word for it, and I'm losing it right now. I can't remember what it's called. It's like a starburst. That's it. If you want your lights to have starbursts on them, go to a higher f-stop, f11, f14, 16, whatever you can get to get the higher aperture. If you leave your shutter open for a long time, you'll be fine. So let's go with that. Keep your ISO as low as possible to minimize noise, especially if you're using a wider angle lens and you need to crop it in a little bit. You want to minimize noise. And here's the starburst. That's the word I was looking for. Use a high f-stop. They start showing up around f8.0. Set the shutter speed to 1 to 30 seconds or even longer. Like I said, you can go 2 minutes on some of these shutter speeds. Use a timer if you're doing the standard setup. This is what this is for. So erratic camera movement, intentional camera movement, and zooming all have the same recommendations. Again, ISO 100 to 200, f-stop 8 to 11. No different than basic. You want to set your camera to bulb. When you look at the dial, the mode dial on top of your camera, you'll see a B, a letter B. That's bulb. That means you can keep it open as long as you want to, whether you're holding the trigger or you're holding a remote trigger button. The manual focus is in all of the modes. I don't know if I put manual focus up here. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Awesome. So you want manual focus on all of these. And the reason you want manual focus is the camera does not know how to focus at night. Plus, there's no fireworks in the sky. And the last thing you want to have happen is when you're trying to take that photo is it's trying to make focus on the firework. And by the time it gets focused and you take the picture, the firework is gone. So put it on manual focus, go all the way to infinity on your focus ring, and just back it off just a hair, like a millimeter, an eighth of an inch or 16th of an inch, whatever math you want to use, just a tiny, tiny bit, just back it off. All right, so since you're going to move the camera, you're going to have a lot better control over the shot. You're going to be able to push the button, hit the remote trigger when you want. There's no timer or remote is needed. You're going to be moving the camera a lot, but you can, if you're on a tripod, you can use the remote trigger if you want. I tend not to do that. I have a video on how the exposure triangle works, and I threw that on here just for an added. So we're going to be in bulb for shutter speed. ISO of 100 is my preferred, or 200, and f8. Now, if you go up to f16, that might be a good time to go to ISO 200 just to make sure you're going to capture light. But that's it. That's it. Like I said, fireworks are easy. And at the end of this video, I will put links to my previous videos last year. I did I think 5 or 6 part series on how to shoot fireworks, and I cover all 4 of these methods on how I do them in a lot more detail than I did today. So check them out. Give me some comments down below. Share your fireworks photos with me. You can find me on Instagram. It's _Doug_. So it's I'll put a link to my. Actually, my link's always in my videos already. So a link to my Instagram will be down below. Tag me on it. Instant message me. Connect to me, and I'll take a look at your fireworks photos. Who knows? Maybe I'll share one of yours on the next video. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for coming and watching me. This is Practicing Photography, getting better one photo at a time. See you next week.